Hey guys, Eddie here with HipaStore.com, and today we're going to try to revive a Stihl backpack blower with a Hipa All-in-One kit and a new Hipa coil. I bought this blower and a Husqvarna one as well several weeks ago. They were sold as not running, and they were near enough to freeze, so I couldn't really pass them up. So hang on till the end and I will let you know what I spent and how much the parts would be. So the only thing I did before hauling them home was just kind of look them over and make sure they were complete, and do a quick and dirty compression check by placing a finger over the spark plug hole and pulling the rope through, just to get a feel for how much compression they had. They both felt good enough, but let's check this one and see what kind of compression it has. Alright, so it looks here like we have over 120 psi of compression, which is plenty good enough. For you eagle-eyed viewers, you may have noticed that there is no spark plug boot on here. I did get the boot and the internal spring connector, and we could try to reattach them and see if that is the only spark plug issue, but this rubber boot split, and I already have a new Hipa coil, so let's swap them out, and I can keep the old coil in my spares. Alright, real quick before I get started, I just want to mention that just to make it easier to have it on the bench here, I did remove the blower tubes, but I did not disconnect any electrical. I still have the trigger here. So first off, we're going to get this cover off and remove the old coil first. There are 3 screws on this cover, 2 on the top and 1 is hidden in the lower corner. And we'll also need to take off the recoil unit that is also 3 screws. Now most of these outer screws on this machine are going to be T27, and most are about the same length, but there is one major difference to look out for that will make putting everything back together a little easier. The screws that will thread into plastic are much coarser thread than the ones that are made to go in the aluminum case. You can see that here. You want to make sure that you do not try to put the coarser threads in a metal hole, or you will end up stripping threads, so it's just something to watch out for. Alright, once we get that cover off, the coil is very easy to remove. It's just 2 screws and 2 wires. The way these wires are oriented, it should be pretty simple to put them back the same way. And now we could go ahead and put on the new one, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the carburetor just so this coil, the new coil, is not in the way. Now I actually don't know that the carb is bad, but it does have old fuel in it and it's likely clogged, or at least needs cleaned. And whether we're cleaning it or not, it needs to come off, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll start by taking the airbox cover off, and there's just 2 screws on the outside cover. And of course we'll replace this air filter with a new one from the Hipa All-in-One kit when we get there. And then there are 2 8mm nuts on the inner black airbox. These also hold the carburetor on. And there is 1 screw hidden underneath on this inner panel, this inner orange panel. And then I should be able to remove the remaining piece. Probably going to have to hold the carburetor here, as it's likely to be stuck to the cover. Now that I have access to the carburetor, I can pull the top hose off that runs to the primer. We could go ahead and change the primer as well with one from the kit, but I'm going to leave this one as it appears to be still be in good shape. I'll then move the lower hose out of its track down here and pull the carb completely off. Next I'll be able to remove the throttle cable. This is just a matter of pulling the cable up and out of its fitting. It's a very simple design here. Now we're going to have to remove the lower hose, and it's a chance that it may leak, especially if you've still got pressure in the tank. Of course you could open up the cap and take the pressure off, but just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and use a pair of vice grips with some old hose on the jaws to pinch off the hose and then remove it from the carburetor. I'm going to go ahead and do some light cleaning here and just reinstall the carburetor. I'm just doing this to make sure we have a running machine. Once we establish that at the end, I'll go ahead and take everything back apart and then we'll do a thorough cleaning of the machine. So next I'm going to put a new gasket from the kit and reinstall the new carb, which I've compared to the old one. It's exactly the same. And of course I'll reinstall a new air filter and put the air box all back together. And once I have that all buttoned up, I can put the new coil on. First I will install it loosely, and then we're going to set the gap. This should be between 6 thousandths and 12 thousandths of an inch, or 0.15 to 0.3 millimeters. Now you can use a feeler gauge for this, but you may find it easier to use a piece of cardstock. This piece came out of my junk mail. This piece is just a little smaller than 12 thousandths, so it'll be fine. And we're going to insert it between the coil and the magnetized part of the rotor here. And when you put these together, the magnetism will pull the coil against the rotor, and then we can tighten it up. We'll remove the card, and that'll leave the proper gap. And now I just have to route the plug wire. Now it would be nice if I could just bolt on the recoil here and not have to put the outer cover on, but it actually serves as a spacer to the recoil unit. And though it may work, it also may damage the recoil, so I'm just going to put the whole thing back together to test it. If I worked on a lot of these though, I would probably make myself some spacers here, just to space that recoil out so it's the proper distance. And then you wouldn't have to put the whole orange cover back on, just so when you're trying to test stuff. Alright, I think we got everything back together here. I'm just going to give it a once over and make sure everything's in the proper position. We're going to put some new fuel in it and take it outside and give it a try. Now, like most modern Stihls, the starting procedure is choke on, and then you pull it until it pops, and then you set the choke at half, and then you pull it until it starts, and then when it warms up for a second, you can turn it to no choke at all. Now, it's probably going to run a little bit rough at first, and we may actually need to adjust the carburetor a bit to get it to run just right. It is an older machine. Alright, I'd call that a success. Now that I know we have a good running machine, I'd like to pull it apart again and do some cleaning and maintenance. And one of the important things I want to do is that I haven't done yet is I will take the muffler off and the exhaust screen. We'll clean that real well, make sure there's no carbon deposits in there. And I'm actually going to show you how to do that next time in one of our very short Hipa how-to videos. So there you go, guys. You know, Hipa's all-in-one kits and quality replacement parts are a great way to revive your old machine and a great way to save you money. So I have $20 in this particular blower. I paid $40 for the pair of them, and the parts were another $20 or $30. So really, we got about $50 in here. We have a professional quality Stihl blower that I can keep or resell for, you know, at least twice that price or more. So thanks for coming along on the journey here, and thanks for watching, guys. And if you want to find more of these kits and more quality replacement parts, visit hipastore.com.